Specialist Emma Cross stepped off the transport truck into the dusty heat of forward operating base Cassidy and immediately felt every pair of eyes turn toward her. She was used to it by now. At 22 years old, Emma had a face that belonged on a college campus, not a combat outpost in the middle of nowhere. With her small frame, clear skin, and wide hazel eyes, she looked barely old enough to vote, let alone save lives under fire. Her uniform hung a bit loose on her thin shoulders. Her medical pack seemed almost too heavy for her body, but Emma had earned her place here. She'd graduated top of her class in combat medic training. She'd studied every night while others slept. She'd pushed herself through every physical test, every simulation, every impossible scenario they'd thrown at her. None of that mattered when people looked at her and saw a child. "You've got to be kidding me," a voice muttered nearby. Emma turned to see 3 soldiers standing by the barracks entrance. The one who'd spoken was a broad-shouldered sergeant with arms like tree trunks and a face carved from stone. His name tape read Kowalski. "That's our new medic?" another one asked, shaking his head. "She looks like somebody's little sister." "Looks like somebody's daughter," Kowalski corrected. "What is she, 18? Emma walked past them, head high, refusing to react. She'd learned that lesson early. Responding to comments like that only made things worse. Better to stay quiet. Better to let her work speak for itself, except her work never seemed to speak loud enough. "Hey, kid," Kowalski called after her. "You sure you're in the right place?" The Girl Scouts meet down the road. Laughter followed her all the way to the medical station. The head of the unit, Captain Bradley Richards, was waiting inside. He was a tall man in his 40s with silver starting to thread through his dark hair and eyes that had seen too many deployments. When Emma reported for duty, he looked her up and down with barely concealed disappointment. "Specialist Cross," he said flatly. "Yes, sir? You're replacing Sergeant Morrison." "I know, sir." Morrison had been a legend. 15 years of service, built like a linebacker, hand steady as steel. He'd saved dozens of lives before an injury sent him stateside. Everyone loved Morrison, and now they were getting Emma instead. "I'll be honest with you, Cross," Captain Richards said, leaning back against a desk. "I requested someone with more experience, someone who could handle the pressure out here. We're not running a training exercise. This is real. People's lives are on the line." Emma kept her face neutral. "I understand, sir. Do you?" He studied her carefully. "You've never been deployed before. Never treated a real combat casualty. Never had to make a life or death call with bullets flying over your head." "No, sir. But I'm trained for it." "I'm ready." He didn't look convinced. "We'll see." That was the response Emma got everywhere. "We'll see. Prove it. Show us." As if her qualifications meant nothing. As if her dedication counted for 0. As if the only thing that mattered was that she looked young and small and unthreatening. The first week at FOB Cassidy was brutal. The soldiers didn't trust her. When someone twisted an ankle during a training run, they limped to the aid station and asked if the real medic was around. When Emma tried to conduct mandatory health checks, men twice her age rolled their eyes and made jokes about playing doctor. Kowalski was the worst. He seemed to take personal offense to her existence. "You ever even seen a real wound, kid?" he asked one morning when Emma was organizing supplies. "Not in some textbook. I mean a real one. Bone showing, blood everywhere. Someone screaming for their mother." Emma looked up at him. "I've seen plenty in training, Sergeant." "Training," he snorted. "That's cute. Out here, training doesn't mean squat. Out here, you either know what you're doing or people die. And honestly," he leaned in close, "looking at you, I don't feel real confident." Emma's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. "If something happens," Kowalski continued, "if bullets start flying and someone goes down, I need to know the person patching them up isn't going to freeze, isn't going to panic, isn't going to fall apart because it's too much, too real, too scary." He straightened up. "You might have fooled whoever sent you here, but you don't fool me. You're not ready for this." He walked away before Emma could respond. That night, alone in her quarters, Emma allowed herself 5 minutes of doubt. 5 minutes to feel the weight of everyone's skepticism pressing down on her shoulders. 5 minutes to wonder if maybe they were right. If maybe she was in over her head. If maybe she should have waited, gotten more experience, looked older somehow. Then she locked those feelings away. She hadn't come this far to give up now. She hadn't worked this hard to let other people's doubts become her own. She was a good medic. No, she was a great medic. And eventually, somehow, she'd make them see it. She just needed a chance. Emma didn't know it then, but that chance was coming. It was coming fast, and when it arrived, it wouldn't come quietly. It would come with fire and smoke and chaos. It would come with screaming and blood and impossible choices. It would come in a way that would test every single thing she'd ever learned. It would come with explosions. But that was still 3 days away. Day 4 at FOB. Cassidy started like any other. Emma woke before sunrise, ran 3 miles around the perimeter in the cool morning air, then reported to the medical station to inventory supplies. The routine kept her focused, kept her sharp. Captain Richards had made it clear he was watching her, waiting for her to slip up, waiting for proof that his doubts were justified. She wouldn't give him that satisfaction. Around 800 hours, Private Jackson stumbled into the aid station, his hand wrapped in a bloody rag. "What happened?" Emma asked, immediately moving into action. "Stupid accident," Jackson muttered. He was young, maybe 19, with red hair and freckles. "Caught my hand on some metal sheeting. It's not bad. Is there anyone else here?" There it was again. That question. That doubt. "Sit down," Emma said firmly. "Let me see it." Jackson reluctantly sat while Emma unwrapped the makeshift bandage. The cut was deep, running across his palm, still bleeding freely. She could see dirt and rust in the wound. "This needs cleaning and stitches," Emma said. "Maybe I should wait for Captain Richards." "Captain Richards is in a briefing," Emma interrupted. "And this can't wait. You've got debris in there. If it gets infected, you could lose function in your hand. Sit still." Something in her tone made Jackson obey. Emma worked quickly and efficiently. She cleaned the wound, numbed the area, and began stitching with steady, precise movements. Her hands didn't shake. Her focus didn't waver. She'd done this 100 times in training, and her muscle memory took over. "You're pretty good at that," Jackson admitted, watching her work. "I'm a medic," Emma said simply. "It's what I do." 15 minutes later, Jackson left with a properly dressed wound, antibiotics, and instructions for care. He even thanked her. It was a small victory. But Emma knew it wouldn't change minds. One good suture job wasn't enough to overcome what everyone saw when they looked at her. That afternoon, Emma was doing equipment checks when she overheard voices outside the medical station. "I'm telling you, Bradley, we need to request a replacement." It was Lieutenant Morrison, the executive officer. "No offense to the kid, but when things go sideways, we need experience." "I've already tried," Captain Richards replied. "Command says she's what we've got. Personnel is stretched thin everywhere. So we're stuck with a medic who looks like she should be studying for her SATs? For now, yes." Emma's hands tightened around the clipboard she was holding. "If we take casualties and she freezes," Morrison started. "I know." Richards cut him off. "Believe me, I know. I'm keeping a close eye on her. So far she hasn't screwed up, but you're right. Under real pressure? That's the question." Their voices faded as they walked away. Emma stood there for a long moment, breathing slowly. She wanted to scream. She wanted to march out there and list every qualification she had, every test she'd aced, every simulation she'd dominated. She wanted to demand they see her as a professional. Not a liability, but she didn't. She went back to her equipment checks. That evening, Kowalski came to the aid station with 6 soldiers for their required health screenings. They filed in reluctantly, treating it like a joke. "Don't worry, Doc," one of them said, grinning. "We'll be gentle." "First time doing this?" "No," Emma said coldly. "Sit down and roll up your sleeve." She took vitals, checked reflexes, asked the standard questions. Most of them barely paid attention, talking amongst themselves, making jokes. But Emma noticed something. Kowalski's blood pressure was high, very high. "Sergeant," she said quietly, "when's the last time you had your BP checked?" "I don't know. Couple months, maybe. Why?" "It's 140/95. That's stage 2 hypertension." Kowalski waved it off. "It's fine. Always runs a little high. This isn't a little high. This is dangerous. You need to be on medication. I need you to stop worrying about it," Kowalski said sharply. "I feel fine." "That's not how blood pressure works," Emma insisted. "You could have a stroke. You could—" "Listen, kid." Kowalski stood up, towering over her. "I've been doing this job for 12 years. I know my body. I don't need some fresh-out-of-school medic telling me what I need." "We done here?" Emma's jaw set. "No, I'm documenting this. And I'm recommending you be put on light duty until—" "Light duty?" Kowalski's face reddened. "Are you serious right now?" We're already short-handed and you want to bench me because of a number on a machine? I want to keep you alive, Emma shot back. The room went quiet. Everyone was watching now. Kowalski leaned down, his voice low and hard. You want to help? Stay out of the way. When real trouble comes, let the adults handle it. Clear? He walked out. The others followed, muttering amongst themselves. Emma stood alone in the empty aid station, hands trembling now, but not from fear. From frustration. From anger. From the sheer exhaustion of fighting for respect she'd already earned but no one would acknowledge. She filed the report anyway, documented Kowalski's blood pressure, sent it up the chain. Captain Richards called her into his office the next morning. I got your report on Sergeant Kowalski, he said. Yes, sir. His blood pressure is dangerously... I read the numbers cross. Richards rubbed his temples. Look, I appreciate you being thorough, but Kowalski is one of my best NCOs. I can't afford to put him on light duty based on one high reading. Sir, it's not just one reading. It's a medical risk that... I'll make sure he gets rechecked in a week, Richards said. That's the best I can do. We have a mission tempo to maintain. I need all my people operational. Emma felt something crack inside her chest. Even if it kills them, sir? Richard's eyes narrowed. Watch your tone, specialist. Yes, sir. Emma's voice was flat. Will that be all? That's all. Dismissed. Emma walked out feeling more alone than she'd ever felt. That night she sat outside under the stars, trying to remind herself why she'd wanted this. Why she'd fought so hard to become a combat medic. It wasn't for glory. It wasn't for respect. It was because she genuinely wanted to save lives, to help people, to make a difference. But what good was wanting to help if no one would let you? She thought about her father, a firefighter who'd told her that the first year was always the hardest. People won't trust you until you prove yourself, he'd said. And you won't get a chance to prove yourself until they trust you. It's a catch-22. But when your moment comes, and it will come, you'll be ready. That's all that matters. Emma hoped he was right. She hoped her moment would come. She had no idea it would come tomorrow. The next morning dawned clear and hot. Just another day at Fob Cassidy. Routine patrols, equipment maintenance, training exercises, the kind of day that felt like every other day, until it wasn't. At 1300 hours, Emma was reorganizing the trauma supplies when she heard the first explosion. It was distant, maybe a mile out. The building shook slightly. Then came the second explosion, closer, and then the siren started to wail. Emma's heart kicked into overdrive. She grabbed her medical pack, already moving toward the door. This was it. Everything she'd trained for, everything she'd prepared for, everything she'd been waiting to prove. Outside, chaos was erupting. Soldiers running, officers shouting, someone screaming, "Incoming!" A third explosion rocked the base, this one close enough that Emma felt the shockwave, felt the heat, tasted dust and smoke. And then she heard the screaming. Real screaming. The kind that came from real pain. Real terror. Emma ran toward it. The smoke was black and thick, billowing from the motor pool where the third explosion had hit. Emma ran toward it while others were still processing what was happening. Her training kicked in, overriding the fear trying to claw its way up her throat. She'd practiced this. She knew what to do. The scene that met her was worse than any simulation. A supply truck had taken a direct hit, metal twisted like paper, flames licking at rubber and fuel, and bodies. 3 soldiers down, maybe more. Blood on the ground, someone crying out for help. Emma's mind went calm and cold and clear. First rule, assess the scene. Make sure it's safe. More explosions could be coming. Get back, someone was yelling. Everyone back! But Emma didn't get back. She dropped to her knees beside the nearest casualty. It was Private Mendez, a kid from Texas who'd shown her pictures of his baby daughter just yesterday. His leg was twisted at a wrong angle. Bone visible through torn flesh, blood pumping out in rhythmic spurts. Arterial bleed. Mendez, look at me, Emma commanded. Stay with me. His eyes were wide with shock and pain. I can't, my leg, I can't. I've got you, Emma said, already pulling a tourniquet from her pack. You're going to be fine, but I need you to stay calm. Her hands moved with practiced precision. Loop the tourniquet high on the thigh. Thread it through. Tighten. Twist the windlass. Keep twisting until the bleeding stops. Lock it in place. Mark the time 45 seconds. Mendez's leg was secured. Medic! Another voice, desperate and scared. Emma looked up. 20 feet away, 2 more soldiers were down. She keyed her radio. "This is Cross. We have mass casualties at the motor pool." "I need backup and stretchers now." Static, then Captain Richards' voice. "Cross, get out of there. We're still taking fire." Another explosion further out, this time toward the south perimeter. The ground shook. Emma ignored the order. She couldn't leave. Not with wounded still down. She ran to the next casualty. Corporal Davis, unconscious, bleeding from the head, breathing but shallow. Possible traumatic brain injury. Emma quickly checked his airway, felt for a pulse, strong but fast. She packed the head wound with gauze, applied pressure, got him into recovery position. "Someone help me," she shouted. "I need hands." A few soldiers had gathered at a distance, frozen, watching. "Now," Emma's voice cut through their shock. 2 of them stumbled forward. "You," Emma pointed at one. "Keep pressure on his head wound. Firm and steady. Don't let up." "You," she turned to the other. "Stay with Mendez. Talk to him. Keep him conscious. Go." They moved to obey, and Emma was already running to the 3rd casualty. This one was worse. Specialist Chen, barely breathing, shrapnel in his chest, blood bubbling at his lips. Tension pneumothorax, collapsed lung. He was dying right in front of her. Emma's hands didn't shake. She ripped open his uniform, found the wound, assessed the situation in seconds. Air was trapped in his chest cavity, collapsing his lung, crushing his heart. He had minutes at most. She needed to decompress his chest, needed to insert a needle to release the pressure. She'd done this dozens of times on training dummies. Never on a real person, never with actual life and death hanging in the balance. "Don't you die on me, Chen," Emma said firmly. "That's an order." She prepped the site, found her landmarks, 2nd intercostal space, midclavicular line, positioned her needle. 1 shot. She had 1 shot to get this right. Behind her she heard boots pounding on gravel, voices shouting. But it all faded to background noise. The whole world narrowed down to this moment, this needle, this man's life. Emma pushed the needle in. There was resistance. Then a pop, then a hiss of air escaping. Chen gasped, his chest expanding, color starting to return to his face. "That's it," Emma breathed. "Come on, breathe." He coughed, sputtered, but he was breathing. Really breathing. Emma quickly secured the needle, checked his vitals again. Pulse strengthening. Respirations improving. He wasn't out of danger, but he was alive. Cross. She turned to see Captain Richards running toward her with 2 other medics and 4 soldiers carrying stretchers. "I told you to fall back," Richards shouted. "I had 3 critical casualties, sir," Emma said, not backing down. They couldn't wait. Richards opened his mouth to respond, then looked at the scene behind her. At Mendez with his tourniqueted leg. At Davis being kept stable. At Chen, still breathing despite the massive chest trauma. His expression shifted. Not quite approval, but something close to surprise. "Get them evacuated," he ordered the other medics. "Transport to the field hospital. Move." The team sprang into action, loading casualties onto stretchers with Emma calling out instructions. "Keep that tourniquet visible. Note the time. Watch for signs of shock. That one has a possible TBI. Keep his head immobilized. Chen needs emergency surgery. Tension pneumothorax. I've decompressed, but he needs a chest tube." Another explosion shook the base. This one to the east. Closer to the barracks. We're under attack. Lieutenant Morrison appeared, out of breath. "Coordinated mortar strike. We're tracking the source, but..." The radio crackled. Multiple voices overlapping. More casualties. East side. South perimeter. The aid station. Emma's stomach dropped. The aid station. All the supplies. The equipment. "I need to get to the aid station," she told Richards. "Negative, it's too exposed. Sir, if we lose those supplies, we can't treat anyone. All the blood, the IV fluids, the surgical equipment." Another voice cut in over the radio. "We've got 4 wounded at the south perimeter." "We need a medic." Richards looked torn. He had 2 medics with him, but they were busy loading the critical casualties for transport. "I'll go," Emma said. "Cross, I'm the only one available, sir. I'm going." She didn't wait for permission. She grabbed her medical pack and ran. The south perimeter was a quarter-mile away. Emma's lungs burned as she sprinted through smoke and dust, past soldiers taking defensive positions, past damaged vehicles and scattered equipment. She found the 4 casualties huddled behind a concrete barrier. Sergeant Kowalski was one of them. He was sitting up, blood running down his face from a gash across his forehead, trying to wrap a bandage around another soldier's arm while simultaneously barking orders into a radio. "Kowalski!" Emma dropped beside him. "Let me see. I'm fine," he growled. "Help them first." Emma quickly assessed the group. One soldier with a shrapnel wound to the arm. Painful but not life-threatening. One with burns on his hands and face, serious but stable. One with ringing ears and a nosebleed, likely concussion from blast wave. And Kowalski, who she now noticed wasn't just bleeding from his forehead. His left arm hung at an odd angle. Dislocated shoulder, maybe broken collarbone. "Your shoulder's dislocated," Emma said. "I said I'm fine. You're not fine, and you're going into shock." Emma could see the signs. Pale skin, rapid breathing. His hands were trembling as he tried to hold the radio. "I don't have time for Sergeant Kowalski." Emma's voice was steel. "Sit down and let me treat you, or you're going to pass out and be useless to everyone." "Your choice." For a moment their eyes locked. Emma didn't blink. Didn't back down. Kowalski sat down. Emma worked fast, treating the others first like he'd asked, bandaging the arm wound, dressing the burns, checking the concussed soldier's pupils. Then she turned to Kowalski. "This is going to hurt," she warned, examining his shoulder. "Just do it." Emma positioned herself, gripped his arm, and with a sharp, precise movement, popped the shoulder back into place. Kowalski grunted in pain but didn't cry out. "You're lucky," Emma said, immobilizing the arm with a sling. "Nothing's broken. But you're out of action for today." "Like hell I am." "Your blood pressure is already through the roof, Sergeant. You add adrenaline and pain and stress to that, and your heart's going to give out. I'm grounding you. You can't. I can, and I am. Medical authority supersedes rank in combat situations. You taught me that, remember? First week I was here?" Kowalski stared at her, and something like respect flickered across his face. Before he could respond, a massive explosion rocked the entire base, bigger than all the others. The ground heaved. The barrier they were behind cracked. The radio erupted with panicked voices. "Direct hit on Barracks 2. Multiple casualties. Building collapse. We need every available medic right now." Emma's blood went cold. Barracks 2. That's where most of the unit slept, where dozens of soldiers were likely taking cover right now. She looked at Kowalski, at the other wounded, then toward the rising column of smoke where Barracks 2 had been. "Go," Kowalski said quietly. "We're stable. They need you more." Emma nodded once, then grabbed her pack and ran toward the worst disaster she'd ever faced. Barracks 2 was gone, not damaged, not partially collapsed. Gone. What had been a 2-story building housing 40 soldiers was now a smoking crater of twisted metal, shattered concrete, and dust so thick Emma could barely see 10 feet ahead. And somewhere in that nightmare, people were trapped, dying, calling for help. Emma ran into the smoke without hesitation. "Medic." The cry came from everywhere and nowhere. Multiple voices, desperate, terrified. Emma keyed her radio as she moved. "This is Cross. I'm at Barracks 2. I need every available medic, every corpsman, every soldier with first aid training. I need stretchers, trauma supplies, and a triage area set up immediately. We have mass casualties." "Copy that." It was Captain Richards, his voice tight. "Cross, how bad is it?" Emma looked at the devastation around her, at the people starting to emerge from the smoke, bleeding, burned, broken. "It's bad, sir," she said quietly. "It's really bad." She cut off the radio and went to work. The first soldier she reached was missing his right foot, blown off at the ankle. He was screaming in shock, trying to crawl away from his own severed limb. Emma dropped beside him. "I've got you. Look at me. Eyes on me." She got a tourniquet on him in 30 seconds, marked the time, injected morphine, moved to the next. A female soldier, Corporal Williams, half buried under rubble, both legs crushed. Emma couldn't move the debris alone, but she could stop the bleeding. She worked quickly, applying pressure bandages, starting an IV, calling for help. "Stay with me, Williams. Help is coming. You're going to make it." More soldiers arrived. Some to help dig. Some wounded themselves, but still trying to help others. The scene was chaos, but Emma forced order into it. "You 3, she pointed at soldiers standing frozen. "Start moving the walking wounded to that area. Anyone who can move on their own, get them out of here. You 2, start bringing me supplies from the aid station. Trauma bags, IV kits, everything you can carry. You set up a triage area behind that wall. Green tags for minor wounds, yellow for serious, red for critical. Move." They moved. Emma became a force of nature everywhere at once, making impossible decisions with split-second precision. This one could wait. That one needed immediate intervention. This wound needed packing. That airway needed clearing. Tag him red. Tag her yellow. Get him on a stretcher now. She lost track of time. Minutes blurred into an eternity of blood and smoke and screaming. Her hands were red. Her uniform was soaked. Her medical pack was nearly empty. But she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. A young private, barely 18, with a piece of metal the size of a knife buried in his abdomen. Emma stabilized it, packed around it, marked him for immediate surgery. An older sergeant with severe burns across his back. Emma dressed the wounds, started fluids, administered pain medication. A lieutenant with a sucking chest wound. Emma sealed it, monitored his breathing, kept him alive until the evacuation team arrived. She saved them. One after another. She saved them, and then she heard the voice. Help. Somebody help. He's not breathing. Emma turned to see a soldier kneeling over a body partially buried in rubble. She ran over and her heart stopped. It was Captain Richards. He was unconscious, face gray, lips blue. Not breathing. A metal beam lay across his chest, crushing his rib cage. We can't move the beam, the soldier said, panicked. It's too heavy. We need more people, but he's not breathing, he's not... Get 3 more soldiers now, go. Emma ordered. The soldier ran, Emma assessed quickly. The beam was crushing Richard's chest, preventing him from breathing. Moving it could cause more damage, but leaving it would kill him. She had seconds to decide. She made the call. When they get back, we lift on my count and we move him fast. Understand? 4 soldiers returned, including Kowalski, his arm still in a sling but his good hand ready to help. We lift together, straight up. Then I pull him clear, Emma instructed. On 3, 1, 2, 3. They heaved. The beam lifted inches. Emma grabbed Richards under the shoulders and dragged him clear just as the beam crashed back down. Richards still wasn't breathing. Emma tilted his head, checked his airway, obstructed. She swept his mouth, cleared blood and debris, repositioned, still nothing. She started CPR. 30 compressions, hard and fast. 2 rescue breaths. 30 more compressions. Come on, Captain, Emma muttered. Don't you quit on me. 30 compressions. 2 breaths. 30 compressions. Kowalski knelt across from her. What can I do? Keep everyone back. Give me space. Emma kept going. Her arms burned. Sweat dripped into her eyes. But she maintained the rhythm. Maintained the depth. Just like she'd practiced 1,000 times. 30 compressions. 2 breaths. Come on. 30 compressions. Richards gasped. His eyes flew open. He coughed, sputtered, sucked in air. That's it, Emma said, quickly rolling him to his side as he coughed up blood and fluid. Easy, you're okay. Just breathe. She checked him over rapidly. Broken ribs, definitely. Possible internal bleeding. But he was breathing. His heart was beating. He was alive. Richard's eyes focused on her face. Recognition. Confusion. Then understanding. Cross, he wheezed. Don't talk, sir. Save your strength. You... saved. I'm a medic. Emma said simply. It's what I do. The evacuation team arrived with a stretcher. Emma gave them a rapid briefing on Richard's condition and watched them carry him away. Then she stood up, grabbed her nearly empty medical bag, and went back to work. There were more wounded. There were always more wounded. For 3 more hours, Emma worked without stopping. She triaged. She treated. She saved lives. Other medics arrived, and she coordinated them, directing resources, making the hard calls about who got treated first. She became the calm center in the storm of chaos. By the time the last casualty was evacuated, the sun was setting. Emma stood in the ruins of Barracks 2, covered in blood and dust and exhaustion, barely able to stand. Kowalski approached her. His face serious and specialist cross, he said. Emma turned to him. Too tired to brace for another criticism. I owe you an apology, Kowalski said quietly. I was wrong about you. Dead wrong. I've served with a lot of medics in my career, and what you did today. He shook his head. I've never seen anything like it. You saved dozens of lives, including mine. Including the captain's. You're not too young. You're not inexperienced. You're one of the best damn medics I've ever seen. He extended his good hand. Emma looked at it for a moment, then shook it. Thank you, Sergeant, she said. Now let me check that shoulder. The next day, Emma was called to the field hospital where the wounded had been taken. Captain Richards was in a bed, bandaged and bruised but alive. His broken ribs were wrapped. An IV dripped into his arm, but his eyes were clear when Emma walked in. "Specialist Cross," he said. "Sit down." Emma sat. Richards studied her for a long moment. "I misjudged you," he said finally. "From the moment you arrived, I saw what I expected to see. Someone too young, too inexperienced, too small to handle combat medicine. I didn't see who you actually were." He paused, his voice growing rough with emotion. "You saved my life yesterday. You saved Mendez, Chen, Davis, Williams, and at least 30 others. You performed a needle decompression, reduced a tension pneumothorax, applied tourniquets under fire, coordinated a mass casualty response, and performed CPR in the middle of a combat zone. And you did it all without hesitation, without freezing, without breaking." Richards reached for a folder on his bedside table and held it out to her. "I'm recommending you for the Army Commendation Medal for Valor," he said. "And I'm putting you in for a promotion. What you did wasn't just competent medicine. It was extraordinary courage." Emma took the folder speechless. "More than that," Richards continued, "I'm sorry for doubting you, for not trusting you, for making you prove yourself when your qualifications should have been enough. You deserved better from me, from all of us." Emma felt something tight in her chest finally release. Not triumph, not vindication, just relief. "Thank you, sir," she said quietly. "That means a lot. You earned it, Cross, every bit of it." 3 weeks later, the formal ceremony took place. Emma stood at attention while the medal was pinned to her uniform. The entire unit was there watching. When it was over, soldiers who'd barely acknowledged her before came up to shake her hand, to thank her, to tell her their stories of that day, how she'd saved their friend, their brother, themselves. Kowalski was there too. His shoulder healed, his blood pressure finally under control thanks to the medication Emma had insisted he take. "You know what the guys call you now?" he asked with a slight smile. "What's that?" "Guardian Angel." He shook his head. "Youngest guardian angel I ever saw, but the best." That night, Emma sat outside under the stars, the same spot where weeks earlier she doubted herself, wondered if she belonged. Now she knew the answer. She did belong, not because of her age or her appearance or what anyone thought when they looked at her. She belonged because when the explosions started, when the world fell apart, when people needed saving, she'd been ready. She'd always been ready. They just hadn't been able to see it until the moment came. Emma Cross looked too young to save anyone until the explosions started, and then everyone learned what she'd known all along. That courage doesn't have an age. Skill doesn't have a face, and a real hero doesn't wait for permission to do what's right. They just do it.